Okay, AFTERSHOCKS TV. We've got a very familiar name and face joining us today. Guy you've seen on the network and on the show numerous times. Different focus this time around. He's now the lead guitarist for Industrial Metal Vets Society 1. Joining us once again is the Motor City guitar guru, Mr. Erik Kluiber. What's going on, bud? How you doing, man?
What's up, Matt? Doing great, man. Happy Saturday.
Oh, yes. Very, very good Saturday. We're doing this nice and early, too, which is good. Always like the morning interviews, nice and spry. Yeah, man.
Vibe.
Absolutely, man. Well, awesome, Erik. So yeah, dude. I mean, a lot's obviously changed in the world of music for you.
Yeah.
You're now, Void Vader's out. Now it's Society 1. You're now with Matt Zane and Society 1. A lot going on with the band as you're getting ready to embark on a huge tour that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But just to start things off, I mean, Society 1, talk about how you wound up connecting with Matt and getting a gig with these guys and these industrial metal vets that have been around for about 20 years now or so.
They have been around for 20 years and even more. But regardless, this tour that we're going to be going on in a couple weeks here is a 20-year reunion anniversary for one of their biggest albums. So it's going to be so awesome. I'm looking forward to it. We go up the West Coast, and then we kind of come back down through Texas and hit some Florida and go back up the East Coast and end in Philadelphia. And I haven't done a tour like this in a while because we're going to be playing some pretty big venues. Mm-hmm. And they needed a guy to do this, which the timing was, there must have been someone looking out for me. It was like, I guess meant to be, because I was freed up all of a sudden. I wasn't in a band. Mm-hmm. And I was in this position of, am I going to do music anymore? Mm-hmm. Is the writing on the wall telling me to just stop? Like mm-hmm. you keep banging your head against the wall and it's not working. But so I was in a pretty rough state. It was very Leaving Las Vegas style. Mm-hmm. You ever saw that movie?
Oh yeah.
And then my girlfriend Lisa was like, there's this band and they're looking for a guitar player and you should really consider it. And I was aware of them. I'd known about them for a while. And it's funny, even when I was in Detroit, and this is a long time ago, I lived in Detroit for many, many years. I was in bands there. And I remember they were playing a local club called the Token Lounge, and I lived a mile from there. Mm-hmm. And it was called Bally's. It's out here, it changed its name to LA Fitness, but maybe Bally's is still a thing in other places. Anyway, I was at Bally's and I saw Matt Zane working out there the day of his show, and
interesting.
I recognized him from magazines and just being aware of what's going on in rock and metal. And that was like, I'm going to say 2005-ish, right?
Okay.
And you might have walked by or anything. And if there's like, especially in that area, there's not as many long hairs and metalheads. So like you stand out, you recognize your own, Mm-hmm. So that was like a weird twist of fate. And so when I moved out to LA, I've always been aware of them. And so there was an opportunity, right? And even though I was really down in the dumps and like just kind of like that movie, The Wrestler, that's kind of where I was at mm-hmm. at that point. And I was like, you know what? You're fucking right. And like they were still looking for someone, and they had a great tour that they needed someone reliable who could handle it. Mm-hmm. And I went all in, and I just did my research of like what to audition, and did like I rented like a rehearsal room so it looked good, it wasn't just in my apartment right here, mm-hmm. which has its own vibe, but it's not really that cool of an artistic like audition vibe.
Sure.
And we rented a spot at Amp rehearsal, and I brought all my gear there because I had to like play along with the video, to prove that I was playing live. Mm-hmm. And I had it all set up. I had to like strike the drum kit and move it all aside, and had all this set up to do this audition. But it's just pain in the ass is what I'm getting to you. And I forgot the piece that mounts to the tripod, to mount the camera to the tripod so I can hit record and play. Uh-huh. So I'm pretty much, and then just like setting it on an angle like on a corner of a wall. It wasn't an option. I was like, fuck, and I was gonna just like, let's just go home. And and my girlfriend Lisa was like, she's like, hey, I'll be your tripod. So she just like filmed the whole thing. She was my camera girl,
Oh, nice. Okay.
Anyway, so like that's just a funny story about how that in itself, like I went through the effort to learn the music, like and get it together and have a good audition video, and then that almost just went to shit because I forgot the fucking little piece that screws into the top of the tripod to hold the camera. And we still persevered and got through it and sent it in. And the next day I got a phone call, so that's a good sign, that, I mean,
next
a lot
day,
of
yeah.
Yeah, you can submit things and you can never get a response.
Exactly.
It really didn't know I didn't know the guys, It's not like I called them personally or even had any sort of inside connection to their camp at all. So that was a good sign. And like within a couple of days, I was doing a live audition. So that's how I got introduced to it. And then I went for it hard with the video, like really learn the song and try and have a good presentation to show that I was fucking serious about doing this, that I could handle it. And I'm happy to say that it paid off, and there was the live audition. And then after that, I mean, the things got in motion really quick. Like, whereas they recorded some new songs and he's like, hey, I would like you to write a guitar solo for The Fight Within, which is a video. Did you get a chance to see it? It came out a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great song, great video, everything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was happy with that. So, and I don't want to like totally steer this in the wrong direction, but to continue from there, things started happening really quickly. There was a program set up to finish these songs, and I wrote a guitar solo for that Fight Within. It was like, that's pretty good. Can you write two more? And we're going to the studio next week. So within a couple weeks after an audition, I'd written the solo. Then we had to do a photo shoot, which I had to like redo my wardrobe and stuff like that. This is a whole different genre,
Sure. Yep.
So it's completely like, I didn't have anything cool to wear for their shit,
Like you said, this is a whole, well, that was going to be sort of my next question, is that like, I remember when you told me, some time ago that you were auditioning for them and you were pretty confident that you were going to get the gig. My first thought was, man, what a just a change in so many ways. I mean, musically, obviously, difference compared to what you've done throughout your career. But at the same time, though, when you look at really the bands you've been involved with over the years, Gypsy Hawk, White Wizard, Iron Knot, Void Vader, I mean, they're all different, so I mean, they are different, but this was obviously a little bit more, like you said, you've got like you were mentioning to me when I had talked to you, there's choreography involved, like you said, outfits. This is just a whole different thing in general, because this is also obviously a band that's been out, been there for a long time, has had success, has done a lot of big tours over the years. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, has that been, I mean, it seems to me that you really embraced sort of that challenge. And this is just, you're looking at this as like, this is just a different opportunity to really just, I guess, to expand on what you can do artistically and, as an artist.
That's it. It is new and it is different. And it's new and it's a little bit of new metal. It's industrial. And then Matt has the shock rock side. There's more stage performance, and there's a vision that he has that I'm a part of that team to push that. And so all that has been like not just musically finding new things and pushing yourself as an artist, but like presenting yourself and presenting a different side of the heavy music spectrum has been pretty cool, actually. And like you said, the other bands have been a lot of traditional metal in some senses, but Gypsy Hawk was stoner metal. White Wizard was new wave of traditional British heavy metal. Iron Knot was like stoner thrash, so like there's like a lot of different, it wasn't just a one trick pony, so that has been a lot of fun to be quite honest.
Sure, yeah, like you said, very different, man. Well, like you said, you brought up something before, and let's get to it. The new track from Society One, "The Fight Within." You
Yeah,
got the video out there, as we said. It's a great song, a great video. Now, in terms of you, now with like you just mentioned before, you came in. This song, I guess, was already done, but and you added leads to this track.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, in terms of now coming into a band so soon and having now here we go, just get on it right away. How was that for you? I mean, like I know mostly in the past. I mean, obviously, White Wizard was already an established band when you joined them, but most of the bands you in were kind of new and stuff that you had been a part of to start with Void Vader, obviously Iron Knot and Gypsy Hawk. So coming into a situation like this and going right away, okay, here, contribute right away to a song. I mean, did you have a lot of pressure on you to kind of, do that, or was just sort of like, what, I'm just gonna, I know I'm confident I know what I can do, and obviously it worked, and like I said, the parts you put in there were really great, and everyone can check that out. We're gonna bring that up here in a second after we're finished with this particular question. But yeah, talk about that a little bit.
yeah. To answer your question, I just went for it, and I've written many guitar solos in the past, and you never know how it's going to be received. So there's a little bit of anxiety or anticipation of what the answer is going to be. But fortunately for me, Matt was like, "Cool, and can you write two more?" So I thought that was a good sign that I was like going down the correct path. But it is like a bit of a crapshoot, That's what's kind of fun and exciting about all of this is you just don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work, and you just do your best to make it work. And then when you hit a home run, then like it makes you have a little bit of a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so we just hit the ground running, and he had this song ready to go. I don't know if they were going to release it without a guitar solo or they were going to put more like sound effects there, but I came into the mix and he was like, "Cool, we got a guitar player that can do leads. Let's throw some leads and see if they work for the music." And if you check out the video of the song, I think they did.
Absolutely. I think they did too. And people are going to hear this right now. Here's The Fight Within. Check it out. So yeah, so I mean, now Society One historically, Eric. I mean, like I was saying, I mean, in the early days, obviously, they were a straight up industrial metal band back in the early 2000s, in the vein of like a Ministry, Static X, sort of, in that arena. But last year, they released an album that I really thought was a really good album, a much different a departure, I should say, from that
Yeah,
traditional industrial metal stuff they did. It was really more of a grunge Alice in Chains type of
yeah.
a record. I thought it came out great, and obviously with the new track, like we've been talking about, that's a little more of a modern metal, new metal kind of sound. So the thing about Society One too is they've changed their sound over the years as well. Now, do you feel like, obviously, by learning now this sort of new material, all the songs in their catalog, including the new track, I mean, is that really, do you feel like that's sort of strengthened now your skills, really as an artist overall in terms of the reach now, what you can play more, maybe compared to what you could before you joined the band? Is that really helping
Well,
hone
I
your
think
skills more?
overall, as a performer and as an artist, it's such a I hate that word, even though I use it as well.
It is, though. It is.
How do you get around it? But yes,
Yes, yeah.
you're growing your deck of cards. Your is that even the right word? Yeah, you're learning new tricks. Your repertoire. Yeah, that's it.
Mm,
So, and it's really cool to expand upon that and appreciate how this music works and
mm,
how to deliver it. Yeah. So as an artist, yeah, you grow from learning new forms of heavy music for sure.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Now, when you're sitting, like when you sit there and you're just kind of starting to, you start noodling around on the guitar, when you are starting to play all these different, styles now, does it have an effect on, like, maybe the type of music you just kind of naturally create? Or are you sort of like the kind of, guitarist who you're able to sort of delineate and play a specific sound and style? Like, so if something calls for, more of a slow stonery type of vibe, you know how to go into that, or if something goes into more
Yeah, you
of
can.
a classic metal type. I mean, how does that work with you
Yeah, you
when you're
play to the
creating?
song. I definitely
Okay.
play to the song and just try to think that I'm not putting in something that sounds stupid, that
Mhm.
doesn't fit, that I'm injecting too much of myself in something where it's not welcome. Like you play to the song.
Mhm.
So I kept that in mind for the Fight Within, but like this particular tune, that's what I was hearing, and I thought it fit,
Mhm.
right? So you start noodling, and when something catches your ear, you start composing for the piece. Um, but so it's within a frame of the song itself.
Mhm. Okay.
That's how you work around and come up with something that's going to fit.
Mhm. Now, did you have to sort of, like, I mean, get into sort of a specific headspace, like maybe
No,
play? No, you just kind of go with it,
no,
whatever you're feeling.
it's
Mhm.
not that contrived. I mean, it is just kind of like playing over it and hearing something that sounds cool. But I guess you just should have the instinct to write pieces that are going to fit.
Mhm.
So it's just not like I listen to a bunch of music within that genre and then like try to emulate that. It's not like
Mhm.
that at all. Over my years, I've heard plenty of shit. I mean,
Mhm.
I had like Wisconsin Death Trip when it came out,
Mhm.
and when I was in high school, I had Ministry, and over the years, I've heard tons of music in this style. And then I think what's also kind of cool is that I don't just listen to this style of music, I mean, coming from like traditional metal as well, I think I can bring in something fresh, which is great.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to say the band Society One has been like really happy with what I've brought to the table. So I, I they seem to appreciate that I have something different than if they could just do it themselves. I guess they wouldn't need me at all.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
program it.
Yeah.
If they didn't
Mhm.
want any cool leads or stuff, you can definitely just put samples there and odd noises,
Yeah.
which is part of the genre, right? But
Mhm. Yeah.
but being able to get in and come up with something organic and cool is also part of the band. And you had touched on that with their last record, which is getting into more of a grunge element. So I like that. They've gone through different portions of their career playing different styles of music. And also with the song Get Up Again, which is a video from that album, Black Level 6. And we'll be playing that on the road. And I liked the lyrics about it, which I seem to identify with at the time, of getting knocked down and getting back up again. And it's an old theme in rock and roll. And coming back up, the comeback kids. And so that was another portion that I latched onto. And that was coincidence as I was learning the tunes. It's interesting when things are laid out in front of you and by chance, but then you get into them and it seems like they were laid out that way on purpose for a reason. You seem to connect with a lot of what's going on. And I was fortunate in this instance to do that. Like getting in the music, and then you get into the lyrics, like, oh wow, this is where I'm at right now in my life, coming back, from getting knocked down and coming back up again. And Matt's been through a lot of that shit too. And then the fact that they're not just stuck in one mold forever, and putting out that record that is rock, which probably shows that they do have appreciation for like fucking other kinds of music as well, and that's why maybe they're digging what I'm doing. It's pretty cool. It seems to work for everybody involved, which is what you want,
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, I guess in a way, has this been, like you said, you were just alluding to the fact of getting knocked down and getting back up. And that's something that you said you've gone through, recently. Has this been sort of like, in a lot of ways, then in a way, sort of cathartic to be a part of this band now and to feel, I mean, because like I said, we're going to get to this in just a second, talking about the tour that's coming up. I mean, it's got to feel like just such, like you said, I mean, a fresh start. I mean, have you made sort of adjustments, now that you've kind of gotten to this new gig? And like I said, this is probably, I mean, I guess is going to be one of the biggest tours, you've ever obviously been on, doing something like this. I mean, how cathartic has it been, the fact that you did get back up, now you find yourself in this great position?
Instantly. It's kind of unheard of. I mean, I've got plenty of friends who, like me, have been in many bands, and then like all of a sudden they're back to zero again and again and again. And my buddy Steve is like, dude, that's absolutely fucking unheard of. No one gets back on the train again like that. That just doesn't happen, I mean,
and that pretty quick too, pretty quick.
Oh my God. It's so much time just finding any sort of opportunity and then pursuing it and then putting it together. I mean, I didn't think I would ever be playing again. I thought really it was just like the writing was on the wall. I was done. It was over. It's time to just focus on just being a civilian forever, And I was super lucky, man. And also to try and just take advantage of this opportunity. I actually ended up like losing a bunch of weight and stopped drinking, which has been super helpful just to get shit done and help keep up with the pace of putting this all together, and learning a whole new band's repertoire and getting the vibe down, I didn't have to do that, that was on my own. I was like, fuck, man, like maybe I was getting a little bit sloppy or something, like cut down on weight and the calories and booze are massive. And then there's other bonuses from doing that, and productivity, not to sound like some fucking Just Say No commercial or something like that, but like it worked for me. And it's been like, it's helped push me along with that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, and like you just said, I mean, making those changes, obviously, like you said, you're gearing up for the Rise of the Machine tour here with Fear Factory and Static X.
There's a lot to, like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but a lot to do. Like, I had to get all new gear. All my gear was falling apart, I had to pursue, track down and find a whole new like wardrobe that like that gelled with these guys that would look cool, you
Mhm.
know, and learn all the tunes and like meet these new guys and shoot these videos and shoot these photos. And there's a lot to just prepare and do this. It's a fantastic opportunity, but now you gotta live up to your end, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
like clock's ticking, and here we are, like 2 weeks out from going on this tour. You know, we got a couple warm-up shows, but yeah, you were just about to talk about the tour, and I cut you off. So like,
Mhm. Go for it.
go
Yeah.
ahead, man.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's like I said, that's one of the things, I guess, making those changes is, this is, mean, it's physically, obviously, and mentally demanding and challenging to do a tour like this. Like I said, obviously, there's a lot of, to play with those bands, the Fear Factories and Static X's, obviously, that's a lot to live up to. And so, obviously, making those changes is going to do nothing but obviously, put you at the top of your game, which it seems like you are right now, which is great. And let me just bring up here real quick so everyone can check it out. The tour that is coming up, like I said, Rising Machine Tour. It starts February 25th in San Francisco, to March 18th in Philadelphia. Now, obviously, you also have a couple of warm-up shows
Yeah,
that you're doing as well. One at the Whiskey, I know, later in the month as well, and then one in Fresno before you head out. So, I mean, now this one in LA, like I think we were last time I talked to you, I know you would say, obviously, this is a big show for you because it's right there in LA, right where you live. And like I said, obviously, every time you join a band, especially a band like Society One who's been around for a while, there's going to be some butterflies and some nerves. Obviously, kicking in
yeah,
there as your first year. I mean, is this sort of the most anxious you've probably felt? I would think since you probably played a show back in your early years in Detroit. I'm imagining,
yeah. There's some
probably, right?
anxiety. You know, I didn't want my. I was hoping the first warm-up show was going to be in Fresno because that's like out of town. You know, not just in
Yeah.
front of my friends. Like my absolute first show with everybody.
Mhm.
I love playing the Whiskey, man. I haven't played there that many times. This will be only the fourth time I played there. And
Oh, okay.
anyway, it's a historic club. Everybody's heard of it. It's a badass fucking place. So like it's actually a little bit of pressure for my first show, you know,
Yeah.
for me
Mhm.
personally in my own head. But
Sure.
it's great to have these warm-up shows before we go on the tour.
Mhm.
So this will be my first show with the band. You're right. February 22nd. We're opening for a band called the Throbs from New York City.
Mhm.
So that's what's up. Then the Fresno show. I haven't played that club. I played Fresno before. We had played a show with Haunt
Okay.
when I was
Mhm.
in Void Vader a couple years ago. We did like a 3-day run with those guys. It was Haunt and Fortress. Um, Fresno's a cool town, man. Anyway,
Mhm.
it's on the way to San Francisco where the tour starts. All makes perfect sense.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's what's
man.
up with that. So, but it's gonna be kick ass, man. Yeah. It's like I got no choice but to deliver on stage. So,
Sure. Well,
course.
I've been seeing some of the videos, on social media that Matt's been putting up, and I mean, it looks like you guys are really. I mean, it's you guys are working hard. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's just, I mean, rehearsing like madmen, like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah,
It seems like,
I will
and
say
yeah.
it's a different approach because I've always been in bands that like rehearsed 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what we had going on. But it's like we get together and we have these marathon practices as really intense, and then we're
Mhm.
gone for like 3 weeks, 3 to 4
Mm.
weeks, and that's new to me. And so we get together, and those are long days.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. I mean, but like you said, to prepare for a tour like this, man, if that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And you also did it, mention to me. I know that, which is something that maybe it's a little different for you too, is the band itself. Not everyone's based in the same location, and
Yeah,
that's very common, obviously, these days.
it is now. Yeah,
It is. It's almost like the normal thing. It's almost like if you do have a band that's all in one location, that's sort of abnormal these days. So I
and
mean,
whatever works.
yeah.
But
So
it's
how different has that been now for you? Because like I said, I think normally, obviously everyone's pretty much, I believe this is probably maybe the first time you've dealt with that with something where there's all, the band members are all in different areas. I mean, is that something new for you? And What is that like? Because that is the new way. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it puts more pressure on
Sure.
because I'm doing a lot of homework and then just making sure, just hoping that I got my shit down, right? Because I don't want to let anybody down when I walk through those doors. And then we get through and again and do it again and again and again. That's the process. And that is different than showing up and kind of like having this routine of, and the security of like the steady, constant practices. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so it's more intense and it's a little tougher.
Sure. Well, I encourage everyone to go out there right there night now, okay, and check out that track, "The Fight Within." It is
Yeah,
out
check
now.
that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Society One. And so, I mean, another thing too, Eric. I mean, what about now? You've got this single out, like you said, you were asked to do a couple more leads and some other songs. So I'm assuming we're going to see a couple more tracks coming out soon after
Yeah.
this as well. So talk about what's, I guess, music-wise, future for the band. What's if you can let us in on anything and what's going on for the future
I'll
with the
fill you in
music.
with as much as I know. And so we shot another video for a song called God to You, and that'll be coming out soon. I think on like, I want to say like February 18th.
Okay.
I think like right before the tour starts, it comes out, and we'll be like opening the set with that tune.
Okay.
So that's those two songs, and then like I recorded solos for two other songs, and I haven't even heard them at all. And mind you, when I recorded the solo to Fight Within, I recorded over a completely different like feel. The song was not complete.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
different drum beat even that I soloed over. And then when I heard the final product, Dagan had done this drum solo essentially underneath my guitar solo, which was a whole different vibe that I hadn't anticipated. And it was
Wow.
like,
Okay.
that was a little bit wild. At first, you're like, "Whoa, this guitar solo is really on display." It was just underneath the verse riff, and it's very naked and like right out the open. And I was like, "Wow!" And then I was really happy with like, you let it sink in because you get what they call demoitis. I mean, you hear things the way that you laid it down, whether it's in the studio or on a demo. And I adjusted to it. I'm like, "That's fucking cool, man. That was so unexpected." So these songs, I lay down my parts. I haven't heard the finished product.
Okay.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's different. Like
It's different.
before, it was the exact opposite, where we'd come in and the songs were completely written like note for note. That's always been my experience. It's not like no time for experimentation in the studio. This time it's like I wrote my part note for note and put it down. But then that's just a piece that they work with and plug into the tune. And that was
interesting.
That was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
And well, fortunately it turned out cool, right? And it would suck if it didn't turn out.
If it didn't,
like,
yeah.
Shit, I like it the old way.
Oh yeah.
That's just kind of, the thing with like being an artist and rock and roll and stuff like that is you don't always know how things are going to turn out. So it's a bit exciting, but it's also risky because nothing's guaranteed at all. Nothing ever is guaranteed. And that's one of the biggest rules of this. That's why when shit happens, it's always bums you out, but you have to kind of expect it in a way, because nothing's always going to work out perfectly and smoothly. So this is a little bit different. This has nothing to do with tragedy, but once again, it's a little bit of a dice roll. I do my parts, but I do my part to the fullest extent of my ability. And then we'll see when it comes out.
The pieces fall where they may. Yeah.
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 Right. So there's definitely two more songs, and are we going to shoot videos for them? There's a good chance of it. Matt loves shooting videos for the tune. Society One has a lot of videos, more than most bands, I'd say.
Well, he's done. I mean, he kind of does. I think, right? He puts out. I know he did that band Siglos. I know he did one of their videos with Sin Kieran on the ex guitarist for Society One. Speaking of them,
right?
And that was a really cool video too. I mean, when I talked to Sin, I remember he said that Matt actually brought in a real shaman from Mexico for that video. So this guy that's on the video, it's a cool video. Moria para Vivir is the name of the song, and there's a real shaman doing a real ritual, on the video, which was really cool. So yeah, he's I guess that's something he does pretty well.
I mean, that's one of his revenue streams.
Okay.
Yeah. So he does that, but also imagine how much that burns you out to have to also do it for your own band. So it's a double-edged sword, right?
True.
It's kind of like teaching guitar, and then which is a cool job, but then it kind of takes away from you actually being in a band, because like you've given so much energy earlier in the day while you were spry like we are right now.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, so that's part of his gig. That's what he does. And so there's a good chance there'll be some more videos. So I don't know exactly when those other 2 songs will be released, and I'd love to see a lot more of a future, meaning a lot more songs full length. I like that. Being said, I don't know. I'm just kind of focused on what is on the plate in front of me, and I have to do that right. So that's the tour.
Very cool.
At this point, it's the tour, and it was like a couple weeks ago, it was like getting through these videos. I'm like, okay, what are these going to entail? You get to that day, you don't know exactly. You're like preparing your best to do your part in the video, to look like not like a retard.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, is there anything now too? I mean, other than Society One, anything else you're working on? Or this is your main focus right now? You're just doing this,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really know how guys can do like a billion projects, because they just, to keep track of them and have your focus you can get distracted very easily. I prefer to just look at one thing at a time. So this is it. We'll go through the tour, hopefully have some great stories for you, in a month. And then from there, there'll hopefully be some more things planned.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, we'll have to get you back on and talk about some of those stories. I'm interested to hear about that for sure.
Yeah, right now it's all just the preparation. We haven't even really launched yet. This is still all just the build up.
That's true. That's a good point. Yep. No, absolutely, man. Well, Society One on the Rise of the Machine tour. Check them out on the road with Fear Factory and Static X, late February to mid-March. Anything else you want to throw in here, Eric, while we got you on before we wrap this up?
Society One's going to be releasing a new video for God to You, and that should be within the next couple of weeks. You already talked about the tour. First show is Wednesday, the 22nd of February at the Whiskey in Hollywood, California. If you're in the area, come on out. Fresno, the tour once again, and that's it, Matt. It was so good to see you at Bob's Memorial.
Yes, absolutely.
You and Tanner and a bunch of other people, and hanging out at the Powerhouse, and here we are here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course,
man. Metal world.